Hey everyone, before the story starts, I just want to give a big thanks to the channels Jack Reads and once again Stories After Midnight. They're going to be narrating all of the stories in today's video. I'm dealing with a lot of back pain at the moment, and the past few days it's been impossible to even sit down or stand and narrate anything. Even recording this little intro right now, I'm in a lot of pain. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me or anything though. I'm just explaining why I can't narrate so you guys know what's going on. Please be sure to check out these guys' channels and give them a listen and subscribe. I really appreciate them helping me out while I try to recover. All that being said though, on to the stories.
When I was a kid, I liked chat rooms, especially ones where I could feel cool and adult-like. There was a little bit of stranger danger info, but my community was small and remote, kind of a rustic, perfect world by itself. So creepers weren't much of a concern to teach us about. I wasn't entirely unsupervised, but I got away with a lot. As a kid, I befriended someone on the internet, and they successfully got me to open up about way too much. They would webcam with me, but it was decently dark on their end, but enough to make out the general features of a man. I webcammed with them in return, and unlike them, my picture was very bright. I was obviously a 10-year-old girl, and they were not. I know this now. I ended up telling them about where I went to school. Not my house, thankfully, but they knew what middle school I went to, thus knowing my general age for sure. I told them we could meet, because in my mind, it would never happen. The internet wasn't real life. I said when and where to meet in the morning. If I remember correctly, this was on a late weekday, and they said they'd be there on Monday. And then, like a child, I forgot about it completely. I was too busy with Saturday morning cartoons and Sunday's Disney movie special. Monday morning comes and my bus is passing the place I described in detail, and everything in me changed. There was a person there beside a white car, and I only saw them for a brief few seconds, and their image on the webcam was never really clear. But I knew. Maybe I didn't actually know, but everything changed then. Even if that had just been a random person, it scared me so bad that when I saw this person online a few days later, I cut off contact with them. Because in their last message to me, they had said they had shown up at the meeting spot, asking why I didn't. 2. Okay, so when I was 17, I was always in Yahoo chat rooms. I was always chatting with people in the local Seattle rooms. Well, this one guy and I chatted a lot and decided to meet. We met at Herfy's for lunch. When he showed up, it was very obvious the guy lied about everything. His age, what he looked like. The guy even admitted he lied about having a job. And he showed up to Herfy's on the bus. So after we eat, I say it was nice, I have to go. And as I walk away, this guy starts following me. I walk to the burger joint because I didn't live very far, and I didn't want this guy to follow me home. My mum was a flight attendant and was out of town. My mum had about a week left until her days off from flying, so I really did not want this weirdo knowing where I lived. I started telling this guy I had some appointments to take care of, trying to shake him from following me, but he insisted it was okay. He would just go with me to be company. Not knowing what else to do, I stopped at a bus stop and waited for the bus to downtown Seattle. He stopped too and got on the freaking bus with me. The whole ride, he kept trying to talk to me by asking me all sorts of questions. I would answer with the bare minimum and fill in with lies, because I didn't want him to know things about me. At one point, he tried putting his arm around me, and I just leaned away. So he tried putting his hand on my thigh, and I told him I don't know him well enough for him to touch me. I felt sick to my stomach the whole bus ride, trying to rack my brain with what the fuck to do once I got downtown. Once downtown, I walked over to the building where my best friend's mum worked. Since I knew the layout of the building, I could play it off. I told him I had to use the restroom. I asked a woman at the cafe there if I could use the restroom. She agreed. Okay, let me explain this. There is a delivery service door outside. It leads to this hallway, And this hallway has doors that lead to all the different shops and to a service elevator to take things/merchandise to the other stores on the upper levels. Okay, so I exited the cafe through the back door and into the hallway and left the building out the door next to the docking bay. I took this as my chance to make my way to a bus stop to go home. I was going to take the express bus and just get off at the airport instead of the other bus that takes forever. Well, as I make my way to the bus stop, I see the guy in the cafe still waiting for me. I managed to make it on the bus and never saw the guy again. However, a few nights later, I was on Yahoo Chat again, when someone messages me, and I told him I wanted to see a picture to know who I was talking to. He sent one. I see the picture and instantly pick up the phone and call one of my friends. The friend I call, his mum and aunt were really good friends with my mum and aunt, and our grandmothers had been close friends too, back in Eastern Washington before either of us were born. So he answers, and I start talking to him. Hey, are you on Yahoo Chat right now? No. Why? Someone is trying to talk to me, and they gave me a picture of you, claiming it was them. Well, I go back to talking to the guy online, and he admits it is not a picture of him. He admits who he is, and said he felt we had a great connection but lost me when we went to downtown. He started to profess his love to me and everything. I cussed the guy out, told him I lost him on purpose. Then I changed my Yahoo name and never met anyone from Yahoo Chatroom in person ever again. 3. This took place many, many years ago. It was 1998 and the internet was relatively new. I remember this because I still used Netscape as my browser and my 2 IM IDs were from Yahoo and AIM. Then there were search engines like Lycos, Savvy Search, and all those other 1998 stuff young whippersnappers probably don't remember. I was a bored preteen, stuck at home for the summer with nothing to do. Luckily, the internet was a good distraction. I usually bummed around surfing for stuff related to the extreme Ghostbusters/real Ghostbusters, which was my fandom at the time, but earlier in the year, my sister installed a program named MIRC on the PC. I don't know what it was, but she told me it was just a place where I could chat with other people. I was a quiet kid. I didn't have lots of friends in real life, but I was a big hit online. I was more open and more cheerful when I was talking to someone behind a computer screen. I met a lot of people from the chat room called the Loony Bin. It wasn't an adult chat room or anything. It was just a place where people could come in, meet others, and be totally random. And since I was afraid of being left out because of my age, I lied and said I was 16. The people I met there were welcoming. This is important. At the time, Star Wars Episode 1 was a huge thing, and so was Natalie Portman, because Queen Amidala. I somewhat idolized her character, and so my username had the name Padme in it. I think it was Padme and then a string of numbers or something. Also, I thought it was a beautiful name. So, every day, I would wait for everyone to leave home, because my mum would freak if she saw me chatting online. Back then, she assumed everyone I talked to was a paedophile or something. Log on MIRC, go to the Loony Bin, and just have fun until dinner time. One day, I was talking about Star Wars Episode 1 with someone in the chat room. Suddenly, another chat room opens up. You can talk to someone privately. And this is where I met Anakin Wannabe, AW. He seemed like a nice guy. He was from the US and at the time was 21 years old. I told him my usual spiel, 16, female, Philippines. He was delighted to meet a young girl who was interested in the Star Wars fandom. Of course, I just told him I wasn't as into it as others, and that I only started because of Episode 1. It didn't matter to him, though. AW mostly talked on and on about the fandom, and I would just comment and listen to him the whole time. And then he tells me, actually, one of the reasons I talked to you was because of your ID, Padme something. You must be pretty, like Padme. He didn't say like Natalie Portman. He said, like Padme. I just again laughed to myself and told him I was far from being pretty like Natalie Portman. Again, he insists I'm just being humble and starts to talk about how he's gonna find a girl like Padme and marry her, adding it with, Maybe that girl is you. Smiley face, smiley face. I didn't think much about it then. When you're 12, you don't really know these things. Either that, or I was just stupid. I didn't get any red flags because I just dropped the subject. We talked about other stuff, but he would almost always bring up something related to Padme/Queen Amidala. Like, wow, you're smart. Just like Padme. Or something like that. I thought it was weird, but again, I ignored. We talked for a few more times, and then AW started to get creepy. Well, not really creepy. Maybe overly clingy is the term. It was summer, like I had said, and my family and I would often visit my aunts and my cousins. We'd stay there for days, and I wouldn't have time to chat online. Or even just for a few hours. I'd be doing something else, and I'd log on a bit later in the day, just to have a quick look of what I'd missed. But he'd always be there going, "Where were you?" Or, "Don't you know how much I've missed you?" Or, "I waited here for so long. I missed you." Sad face. It made me feel guilty at the time, and I'd always apologise. He made me promise I'd see him earlier the next day, and I did whenever I could. A few weeks later, I log in, as I always do, and then suddenly AW invites me to this chat room. I'd forgotten the name he gave it, but it had the name of Padme in it, of course. He said this chat room was just for the two of us, more specifically for me, the most beautiful girl in the world. Then, he goes on to tell me about how we should meet and send pictures of each other, because he really wanted to start a relationship with me. I don't know what happened, but maybe it's because I felt guilty for lying to him. I fessed up. I told him I was really sorry. I was not 16 years old, I was 12, and I was nothing like Padme. I told him it's better if he forgot about me and that I understand if he'd never want to talk to me again. He didn't reply for a long time, so I assumed he was really mad and I was about to exit the chat room when he replied. He tells me that my age doesn't matter, whether I'm 16 or 12, and that he actually didn't mind that I was 12, that he still loved me and would love me forever. He kept saying stuff like, "I want to make this work with you, Padme. I love you. I'm going to make you the happiest wife ever." I think it was then that I realised that something was wrong with this guy. My name's not Padme, AW. It's Jane. It doesn't matter. You're my Padme forever. Well, Reddit, I wish I could have told you that I helped. I wish I could say that I told him that he had issues that he had to resolve, and that he should find someone to help him. I wish I could tell you that it ended well, and that he promised he'd get better. I wish I could say we parted on good terms, but I can't. I was 12 and scared. I logged out and didn't come back to MIRC for the rest of the day, or the rest of the week. Just in time, too. Our computer was ransacked by a computer virus which came from the MIRC channels. We had to get it reformatted, and my sister never downloaded it again, seeing what it did to the PC. I never tried to download it either. I felt too guilty. I felt horrible, and I could only imagine how painful it was for AW. I blamed myself for a while, and felt like his issues were caused by my lying about my age. There are times that I just stop and think about AW. I would wonder if he got the help he needed. I honestly hope he did.
Number 4. When I was a kid, AOL was a big freaking deal. I was maybe 12 or so, and my best friend and I would go into some of the AOL chat rooms and talk to strangers. It was stupid, I know, but it was 10 or 11 years ago. We never gave out any personal information or anything, just chatted. Anyway, this guy started following me around online. His username was a weird name in caps with a ton of numbers after it. I still remember the exact username, but obviously, I won't put it here. He knew so many things about me, even my damn bra size. I knew that it wasn't any of my friends because A, I only had 2, and B, no one knew the personal things that he knew about me, like when I typically got my monthly cycle and bra size, etc. I've never been able to figure out who this person was, and for a couple years back when there was the original AOL buddy lists, I would keep him on as a friend in hopes of seeing him come online to get answers. I've Googled his name since, and nothing has ever come up. To this day, I have no idea who he was. Number 5. I recently decided to look back at really old live journal entries. Remember that? And was reminded that I dealt with a lot of creepers when I was younger. The one below was definitely the worst, mostly because, now I realize, I was being groomed to slowly cave to his requests, or he would get annoyed and guilt trip me, and or try other methods of manipulation. Anyway, I was a prime target for older guys when I was young. I was introduced to the internet at 7 before the dangers of the internet were really known, and I became very savvy at skirting parental barriers and restrictions that had been put in place online for my safety. This was back in the days of AOL, when roleplay in public chat rooms was common. In this particular story, I was 14, lonely, I only had 2 friends, Anna and Cherish, and had little to no self-esteem, slightly chubby kid, was unhappy in general, and was very flattered when older guys found me interesting enough to talk to me for months at a time, sometimes longer. The main villain of this story was in his late 20s and had known me online for about a year, possibly more. We'd met in one of the role-playing chat rooms on AOL and eventually realized that we lived in the same state, though he was about 30 minutes outside of my city. He went by the handle Kane. He was tall, lanky, black hair, and wore a dark cabbie hat. He always looked brooding in pictures he'd send to me. Our friendship started off very innocently. I enjoyed role-playing original characters, and he was interested in that as well. Eventually, it progressed to talking regularly, out of character, and becoming friends. As time went on, he started pushing me to roleplay more sexual situations, which I refused, and eventually would tell me sexual things he wanted to do to me, which scared me. I kept brushing it off because when sex wasn't the forced topic of discussion, I otherwise enjoyed talking to him. I was very active on LiveJournal at this time, 2002. So while I have very little proof in terms of pictures or chat logs, having deleted them all when I finally realized how predatory this guy was, I do have really old LiveJournal entries that describe the relationship we had and how anxious he made me, despite the fact that we talked and role-played pretty regularly. December 3rd, 2002. Role-played with Kane today. Wasn't bad. He's happy that I brought his favorite character back to RP with, so he's being less annoying. But then he again to bug me about meeting him. I've been trying to avoid him because he usually tells me what he wants to do when we begin to see each other in real life, and it usually involves something sexual. I'm sure I could get out of it if I met him, but I don't know if I want to take the chance. December 5th, 2002. I got out of role-playing with Kane today. It's not bad, really, our roleplay. I mean, I'm unwilling to do anything sexual, and though he bugs me about it, I still won't. But he wants to RP like every minute, and so I snapped at him today. He said sorry and then cooled off for the rest of the day. Yay! There are a lot more entries in the same vein as above, but those give a pretty good representation of how I felt about him. I felt obligated to keep talking to him, though, because, you know, there was this older, sophisticated guy who I thought was worthy of his time. My mindset has changed a lot since then. So at some point between December 3rd and December 14th, I had caved to his relentless pestering and agreed to meet him at a movie theater I frequented with my family. This was mostly because he knew the apartment complex where I lived, but not my apartment number, and had threatened to stand outside the apartment gates and wait for me to get home from school. Related tangent, he didn't have a car and lived at home, so his mom would have to give him a ride. But a day later, I backed out of the agreement because I couldn't get rid of a deeply unsettling feeling that had grown once I'd agreed to meet up, even in a public area. Needless to say, he wasn't happy, but had stopped bringing it up regularly, and we continued chatting as normal. He was still paying attention, though, and I was in the habit of putting stuff in my AOL away message like, going to the movies. Of course, at the movie theater he now knew about. December 14th, 2002. I came so close to meeting Kane today. So freaking close. I saw him. I'd left the movie early to go to the bathroom, and I saw him. He was facing the other way. I saw him and ran. Now my mind is racing and I'm feeling so guilty. I didn't want to meet him. Online he makes me nervous enough, but in real life? I told him when we'd be going to the movie today, and not realizing that he'd try to meet me. He was inside the lines, which means he paid for a ticket to get there. I passed him so close I could have reached out and grabbed his arm, but I didn't. I walked by next to my sister, hoping he wouldn't stop. And he didn't. But I recognized him. He didn't recognize me. Now, what do I tell him? He paid money to get in there. He had his mom drive a half hour to get him there. What do I tell him? I can't get online on any screen name that he knows. He'll be online. He is online. Should I tell him that I saw him, thought he saw me, but he passed by? That is the truth. I didn't call out or go back because, 1, I was nervous, and 2, Mom was already out the doors and my sister was pulling me along. Or should I tell him I didn't see him and went out the back? Now that won't work. His mom was in the back. I saw her too. We parked in the back and left out the front. He had both exits covered. I know his mom saw me. She recognized me. What'll she tell him? What do I tell him? I'm wondering what would have happened if I had walked up to him when I left the movie early, because I could have. I ran. What would have happened? At this point, I still don't have the courage to stop talking to him, but I did at least tell him, again, that I wasn't comfortable meeting him. Unfortunately, I had mentioned previously that I had planned on going to the movie with my 2 high school friends, Anna and Cherish, to celebrate finals being over, and had told him not to go. December 19th, 2002. He was there again. Kane. He said he wouldn't be. I didn't see him until Anna told me, "Steph, look over there on the bench. Is that him?" Meaning Kane. She's seen a picture of him. And I freaked. I'm positive I looked like a deer in headlights. I stared, glanced away, and he stared right back. I almost ran out the door, and I was really close to running all the way back to Anna's car. Kept looking at the theater, wondering if he was following. He said he wouldn't be there. I wasn't prepared. I can't meet him. Yet, how will I explain this? I could say I didn't see him, and I wouldn't have if Anna hadn't pointed him out. Damn it. This just ruined it. Seeing him after the movie, it ruined it. But then, after seeing him, it was hard to think about the movie. I just wanted to run. That's a sign, as Cherish said. I really don't want to meet him. I'm scared to meet him. What do I tell him next time I see him online? It'll be a while. I just blocked him. I'm hiding. Only those on my buddy list can IM me. I removed him from my buddy list. Crap. Crap. When I calm down, I'll post about how great Lord of the Rings The Two Towers was. I saw someone videotaping it in a theater. Until then, I need to calm down. I vividly remember the terror I felt when I saw him, both times. This time, I gave myself a couple of days to recover before talking to him again. December 22nd, 2002. I'm talking to Kane right now. He's been bugging me to no end that I ignored him, and haven't figured out yet whether he saw me Thursday or not. So I took him off ignore just now, and he said he didn't see me. I didn't tell him that I saw him. Apparently the girl staring at him weirdly wasn't news to him. Everyone who went by looked at me like, the hell is this kid sitting here for? I kept saying I didn't see him because if it wasn't for Anna pointing him out, I really wouldn't have. I looked everyone over and never saw you. This is weird. Am I destined to, not see you? This isn't fate, damn it. I'll keep letting him believe that, but suddenly talking to him, now that I've gotten the whole "did he see me" thing cleared up, I'd rather stick him on ignore and not talk to him for a long time. I think it's because I came so close to meeting him again, and this time he came very close to recognizing me. I'm going to end up ignoring him for a while. I never took him off ignore. At some point I moved on to another screen name for getting to tell him my new one, and we lost touch permanently. I no longer live in that state, Arizona, but it was years before I stopped fearing running into him while out and about. Thankfully, 14-year-old me learned from that encounter, and I am much more careful about how much information I gave away on the internet. Number 6. I am an active user in many IRC chat rooms. In fact, at the moment, I'm in 54 chat rooms. The fact is, I'm younger, and I have met a lot of really freaking creepy people in chat rooms. However, I have never met someone as frightening as John. After signing up for a website in mid-April of 2012, I saw that someone was advertising their IRC chat room in a post on said website. I decided to give it a go. The first person to say hi to me was John. He recognized my nick on the site and welcomed me warmly. At first I thought he was a completely normal human being. Oh, how wrong I was. After talking for a little less than a week, he found out my last name. I only knew this as he tried to friend me on Facebook. I am not one to advertise myself online, so I went and chatted with him. How and why did you find out my real name? I just want to become best friends. This man is 22. I am 14. Being extremely creeped out by him finding out my name, I ignored the friend request and blocked him from Facebook. Trying to ignore how creepy it was, I continued to talk to him. One day he brought up a conversation about his dying iPhone. I told him how I fixed several iPhones of his model and offered some help. He got confused when I sent him a couple of links to parts to fix his phone. Even thought he works for a mobile phone place, and he got confused. How about you just give me your phone number and I'll help you? I'm not exactly comfortable with that. How about I just explain it here? I'm thinking of just buying a used iPhone on eBay. How about you give me your address and I'll send you my current iPhone, free of charge? This should have clued me that he was trying to find out everything about me. I shrugged it off as if he was just trying to be nice. Again, I was wrong. I was then talking to another kid my age on IRC, Tony, who had given John his address. John had sent him a letter with blood on it. Very creepy and is considered as a biohazard. This is when I stopped talking to John. Somehow he found out my home chat room and my runaway chat room. He joined both and will not leave. In fact, I have talked to several other people from other IRC networks, and they all think he's a pedophile due to the way he acts. I found out recently that John had been arrested in 2009 for touching another person inappropriately. What I have found recently, John doesn't really know my address. He lied just to scare everyone. He had been threatened to be banned by 90% of the servers he idles on. Let's thank the cooperation of those servers in caring enough to think about the process of banning him. He will just keep coming back, over and over again.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you have your own personal scary story, be sure to submit that to my subreddit at reddit.com/r/southerncannibal or to my email at southerncannibal@gmail.com. I'm always looking for new stories. And before we bring this video to a close, I just want to shout out all of my $5 or more patrons, as well as my $3 or more patrons featured on screen. Shout out to Babe Lincoln, Beth A, Kate E, Celeste S, Ellie S, Emily W, Heather B, Howard R, Jacqueline W, Jazzy G, Jonathan C, Lori J, Matthew B, Michael G, Random Randy, Steph L, Tammy S, and Terry H. Thank all of you so much for supporting me on Patreon. I really appreciate it more than you know. And if any of you would like to join these awesome people and also become a patron, head over to my Patreon at patreon.com/southerncannibal. Thank you everyone, and have a good one. And remember to always